it's back to that time where we're going to start again. I hope everyone's well. So I just noticed I've got something stuck in my stick bag. I'm not too sure what this is. Hang on a minute. Wait a minute. Let's work out what this is. So I hope everyone's well. I've got drum news for you today. So we're back. Good to hear it. Straight to the train station. Any questions you've got for me? There we go, it's my drum key. Any questions you've got for me today? Let's do that. I'm going to do a drum lesson today. I've got some giveaways. I'm going to tell you who my guests are this week. Hopefully I'm going to be back doing some stuff with you all. It's my Remo drum kit stuck in my stick bag. It was bugging me. So I'm back, I'm sorted now. Look at the size of that drum key. How can you lose this Remo drum key? I mean, look at it. Seriously, that's not going in your back pocket, is it? So yeah, any questions, any comments about what you want me to discuss tonight? A drum lesson, I'm going to give you a drum lesson tonight. So yeah, just let me know and we'll cover that. Right, that's it. I've done all my waves now, I think. So I've got my coffee. Any questions, stick them in the question mark box. And the best question tonight wins a pair of new, I've got a couple of pairs actually, the new Luke Holland Meinl signature drumstick. I know, it's back to fun. If you're watching this, hi Femi, if you're watching this on YouTube later or you're watching this on Instagram later, then tough, you can't win them. You've got to be in it to win it, okay? And that's for the best question tonight. So welcome if you're watching on YouTube. And this goes up on my YouTube page, Drum Clips. Okay, so let's get started. So a few bits of news for you this week. It's been a bit quiet over the last couple of weeks actually, but start by giving a couple of shout outs, happy birthday shout outs to two guests that I've had on here, two drummers. Brian Fraser Moore, is his birthday today, so happy birthday to Brian. And Al Murray. I know Al Murray is better known in the UK as the comedian, the pub landlord, but I know him better as a drummer, and also the person that set up the British Drum Company. So it's Al's birthday today as well. Like I said, I've got a couple of pairs, or I've got certainly a pair of drumsticks, maybe a couple of pairs of drumsticks for the best questions tonight. The new Luke Holland Meinl signature sticks. Not 100% sure if they are in the shops yet. Maybe someone will let me know. We've got a new book coming out, which is very exciting. The new Steve Gadd book. And when I say the new Steve Gadd book, Steve Gadd has not released a book before. Can you believe that? The Gaddaments, which is out by Hudson Music. And I'll be discussing that in the next few weeks. And who knows, maybe we may have a guest that'll be able to talk about that a little bit more. But it's one of the good things that's come out of the last 15 months of lockdown. As you're well aware, a lot of people still want to stay creative, and Steve Gadd's got down to sitting down and writing a book, which is going to be really exciting. I think you can actually order it now. I think the release date is June. I talked about Steve's new album that came out a couple of weeks ago, but now obviously the book's coming out. So I'm really excited to really get into that. I've seen a few pages, I've seen a few bits and pieces, and if you follow Steve Smith, which you should by the way, on Instagram or on Twitter, he just recently put up a few videos of playing some of the Gadd exercises and the rudiments. So anyway, that's the new book by Hudson Music, Steve Gadd, that's coming out. What else have we got for you? What other news have we got? So Sarah Foer, who great drummer, a lot of time for Sarah, and I've had on here as a guest. So she's recently just changed cymbal company to Istanbul Agop. So there's more content than that coming out from Sarah. And I've got a couple of new products that have been sent I want to show you. So the first thing that's been sent is this interesting puck pad, it's called. The puck pad. So as you can see, it's quite a small little pad. You can go over to their social media to find out a bit more about it. It's got this bit of string on it so you can actually put it on your leg. But the idea is as well that obviously it's to start practicing with your sticks quite close together. Now, I've talked about this before, but when I studied with Max Abrahams many years ago, Max used to have a 1p piece stuck on the middle of the snare drum, and we used to have to play on that 1p piece, which was a little bit hard work and also a little bit maybe pedantic, but it really made you sort of fine tune that. So anyway, this pad is a similar thing. Now, I only received this in the post a couple of days ago. They're a little company, like I said, Puck Pad. I'm going to show you it. I'm going to try and show it to you on, so I'm going to move this a second. Like I said, any questions, please put them in the question mark box. I will come to them about anything you want me to discuss today, etc, etc. So you can see that. So where's my sticks? Okay, so yeah, so it's designed to basically practice keeping in the same place. Okay, so I put it on my snare drum. Let's take the pad off here for a second. I haven't tried this yet. I mean, the string I'm guessing you can also use to hold it into one place. Yeah, because it's going to bounce about. But I don't even know if it was planned for this as well, but you can also use it as there's lots and lots of products like that, but it also doubles up obviously as a nice little pad that you can put in your pocket. And if you wanted to, like I said, it's got this piece of string on it that you can tie it to your leg and you can practice anywhere at any time. So this is just, like I said, a little independent company called Puck Pad. So okay, so go and check them out. Alright, let me take this off my leg. Also, let's talk about this. Can you see that? If you're writing anything, I can't see it at the moment, so we'll come back to this. So this is the next product from Russ Miller's company, GruvX, the Mundo. If you're familiar with any of his products before that used to come out with by Yamaha, this is again a continuation. Now, it's for the floor tom-tom, okay? Okay, I actually have always liked it on the snare drum for a couple of reasons. I sometimes use most of the time use two snare drums, and I quite liked it over there. The other reason is that, so anyone that's familiar with the GruvX, obviously you can still play that as. So, let's have a go at this. Mundo. Okay, so this is the latest thing. It's got a copper plate on the back, fits onto your tension rods the same way as the GruvX, and I love it. I love it. I liked the first one, to be fair. So I know that they've got more products coming out. So go over and check that GruvX and see what you think. Okay, so that I think is my drum news. Looks like I've got a few questions in here, so let's have a look and see what's going on. Let me get this in the right place. So I have to read the questions out for those that are watching this later, and obviously for YouTube. So here we go. Let's have a look. I'm also going to just having my coffee. I'm also going to be doing a lesson, which I haven't planned yet. So if you've got any particular things that you'd like to do, I'll try and do a little 1 minute short lesson. And I'll also let you know who my guests are. We've got just the one guest this week because tomorrow is going to be my 6th online Zoom masterclass, which is unbelievable that I've done 6 of them. I try to do one on a monthly basis, so tomorrow's my 6th one. So there's no guest tomorrow. So let me have a look what we got in here. So, okay, let's get this one up. Okay, so Alfie has asked me the question, best advice on getting endorsements. So Alfie Summers, best advice on getting endorsements. Okay, basic jazz for short lesson, okay, maybe. So the best advice for getting endorsements, Alfie. Okay, so first of all, I'll answer the question that you've asked. Best advice. First of all, make sure you are endorsing a product you want to endorse. Don't go for free shit for the sake of getting free shit. And now, that's becoming even more evident now with influencers on social media and that being a big part, okay? So, but drums, drums are quite, obviously this is your thing, this is your sound, this is what you're all about. So don't just go for stuff that's free. You've got to go for stuff that you believe in. So Alfie, first of all I'd say, right, what's the product you like? Put any of those questions in my question mark box so I can come to them. So decide what the product is you like. If, for example, you've always played Sabian cymbals and DW drums for the sake of it, then surely that's what you like. That's the kind of stuff that you would like to play. Okay, so stick with what you like. Second of all, companies talk to each other. It's a very small industry, so if you're writing out the generic email to everybody saying, "Oh, I love your equipment, it's amazing, blah blah blah, I want to play it," chances are that most companies are going to talk to each other, and a lot of companies actually move. Oh, hang on, pause due to poor connection. So sorry about that. So a lot of people move within companies as well. So where one person may be, you sent them an email saying how wonderful their gear is, they may go to another company and they see this again. So so don't do that. Alfie, I know you're only a young guy, and you've got plenty of time on your hands. Thirdly, companies are pretty good now at finding you. If you're doing things that are making things happen and you're making things happen, they're going to find you. Now, with all that said, the whole endorsement system is probably just started to turn itself upside down, okay, and it's going to change completely. I've repeatedly talked about this on here before. The whole endorsement system was actually going along a line where it just could not continue. You know, there's an endorsement should be, this is what an endorsement should be. You're on tour and your cymbal splits or something breaks or something happens and you can get a product there straight away. That's number one. Number two, you're out on tour with whoever it might be and they want you to have a particular design of a drum kit. Most of the time, obviously, the management company will budget that. They're going to have something there. So, for example, let's take Eric Hernandez from Bruno Mars. And Bruno may want a drum kit for him, and then he wants a special kit for Eric. Now, that'd be budgeted in the tour. But you're now going for a bespoke kit. So you can go to DW and go, listen, this is what I want. Can we do this? And they will do that. That's what an endorsement's all about. What an endorsement shouldn't be about is having free shit for the sake of having free shit, and just for the sake of saying, look what I've got. Because it really doesn't pay the bills. It's certainly not going to be putting food on the table. Most people have got decent amount of equipment. I think, Alfie, over the years I've seen, I think, could be wrong here, please correct me if I'm wrong, Young Drum of the Year, I think I've seen your entries on Young Drum, and you've got decent equipment. So as long as your equipment's good, there's no reason why companies can't help and support younger musicians in any capacity. But don't get caught up in that whole endorsement world, because that endorsement world is going to change. The companies cannot keep going like they were. Unfortunately, things have changed over the last 13, 14 months anyway. Products aren't selling. You know, look at it this way. If you can't sell, if everything was given away free, how can, number one, people like you at the moment, Alfie, are buying something. You could be paying for something that other endorsees have got, i.e. they've got to make their money back somewhere. So number one, that can't keep going on. Number two, if we keep giving stuff away, there's no use for drum shops, and we cannot keep that going. We need drum shops. We need that kind of stuff. So it has to be an even kill now. But going back to the actual question that you asked, I just think you should just keep going at what you're doing. And drum companies, like I said, the industry's a small industry. People start finding out about you, and then as soon as you get that first phone call, or if you get that first phone call, don't necessarily go, great, this is the one, because they've now offered me something. You know, you've got to stick to what you like, okay? It's very important. And like I said, you've probably got a decent kit at the moment. I think you have. You've probably got all the equipment that you like at the moment anyway, so what's the point of changing? And would you change to another brand that wasn't as good as the product you've got just because it was free, and then your sound isn't as good as it was before? So I hope that helps you there. Right, here we go. Let's see what else we got here. That's so clear. Okay, yeah. Sorry. There's sometimes when I read the questions, some are in really small text, and Pedro, yours is really small. And he's basically, Pedro's saying there was a really good article that Russ Miller talked about a couple of years ago in Modern Drummer about endorsements, and I do remember that. But to be fair, a lot of drummers talk about this all the time. Unfortunately, the world has changed as well in the last 13 months, as we all know. It has changed. The endorsement system has to change because the companies can't contain that anymore, and everything has changed anyway. So what people were talking about maybe a couple of years ago maybe are completely different now anyway. If you were starting drumming today, would you do anything? Right, okay, good question. So this is Stubble Dan 78. If you were starting drumming today, would you do anything differently? Yes. Good question. Excellent question, that is actually. Yeah, I started at a young age. I've talked about this before on here. I was fortunate. I probably started when I was 10, 11. And I was gigging by the time I was 13, maybe 14. I had a very, very good music teacher that got me playing in bands. And I was working in what used to be working men's clubs and holiday camps from the age of about 13, 14 years old. So to answer your question, I'm just going to have some more coffee. Yeah, I wouldn't beat myself up as much. I wouldn't put the pressure on myself that I did back then, and like all of you probably do. We didn't have social media, but we still had, you know, I would go for jobs, or I would see other drummers and think I was rubbish, and I think I needed to do this or I needed to do that. I would change direction too quickly. I would give myself a tough time when I first came. I mean, again, I've openly discussed this before, but when I finally made the move into London, I thought I was going to walk into London and everyone was going to go, great, Mike's here, brilliant, let's give him some work. And it really didn't happen for a good 2 years. And that was tough for me, really tough. That, you know, I was the new kid in the block and I wasn't as good as I thought I was. And I gave myself a tough time for that. So I certainly would say my advice would be just let things happen. You know, work hard. You know, I've openly discussed this on here, on these shows, and I've openly discussed this with my guests. You have to have your shit together. Okay, has to go. You've got to have your shit together. You've got to now, even more so, whether you like it or not, and I don't care what other people say, you've got to be able to read, you've got to play multiple styles, you've got to know about electronics, you've got to know all this stuff now, okay? It's getting harder and harder, so you've got to have your shit together. And then it's luck, okay? Then it's luck. And when the luck comes along, you've got to be ready for that, okay? And that is so true. If anyone goes back over the other Instagram chats that I've done, and you go back and you find the Dave Weckl one, even Dave Weckl told you in his chat that he spent many a time not having a gig, just sitting around, I mean, this is Dave Weckl, for goodness sake, feeling really shit about himself, thinking he was never going to get a gig. You know, he was 20, 21 years old, said he was watching far too much daytime TV, and then he had a break, and that started it. So, and like I said, this is Dave Weckl. These are the greatest drummers in the world that were having these kind of issues. So if I go back and I talk to myself now, and talk to that young Mike Dolbear, then I definitely would have said, just carry on working hard, but just relax. Just let it work out for you. Don't get too stressed, because I definitely put a lot of pressure on myself. Like I said, when I first came into London, I couldn't understand why people weren't giving me a phone call. And maybe I can't really remember if I expected people to come and give me a phone call, or I expected that. I think I was out there doing everything, but I certainly put that pressure on myself. And I think that you know, again, I've discussed this on here before. I don't worry about things I don't have control over. And back then, now I think about it, and I didn't have control over whether I was going to get a gig or not. I did have control over how hard I worked. I did have control over put myself in the company of other people, i.e. there was no jam nights back then, but Ronnie Scott's was a great example back in the day. Things have changed slightly now, but making myself be aware, and there where my gigs came along from, I would say yes to every gig. It didn't matter what it was, literally, whether it was a function gig, whatever it would be. When I first came into London, I would just say yes, even though before that I'd already done some TV stuff and I'd done some big tours. When I came into London, I had to sort of go, right, hang on a minute, you got to start again. You've got to work hard. So work hard. Don't mentally put too much pressure on yourself. Okay, that's definitely what I would say to the young Mike Dolbear back in the day. Things will work itself out. I hope that answers that question. There's some good questions here. I think you're going to win a pair of sticks at the moment. Okay, that one just says, let's talk about flams, baby. It's got to be a song there, isn't it? Let's talk about flams, baby. Okay. Oh, that's a good one as well. Stubbleton 76. Can you teach the Rosanna or Purdy shuffle? Okay, well, that's a good one. If you were starting drumming today, oh, you've just done that one, Dolbear. Shut up. For match grip, do you prefer first finger? Oh, look at you today. You're on form, Stubble Dan. Okay, I'm gonna address this one as well. So this one says, for match grip, do you prefer first finger fulcrum or middle finger fulcrum? Okay, good question. And it's changed. It's changed a lot. And again, I could use Weckl as an example of that. Weckl changed the way that he gripped the stick. I think, again, a topic, I've discussed this topic quite a lot on masterclasses, etc., etc. And unfortunately, you can't see the picture of him, but one of my first early drum teachers, around about 1981, was Kenny Clare, the great UK jazz drummer called Kenny Clare. And Kenny was incredible, had amazing hands. I mean, Google him, go and check out Kenny Clare. He's played on so many hit records, done so much stuff, and probably one of our greatest, certainly one of the greatest UK jazz drummers. But anyway, Kenny used to say, hold your sticks. Just hold your sticks all the time. You know, and you will naturally find, I always learned traditional grip for a start, but you will naturally find where your sticks feel comfortable in your hand. And that made so much sense to me. You know, you hold the stick like now I'm holding it in a position that doesn't feel right to me. I naturally can pick up my drumstick and I know where it feels comfortable. So, first of all, that's very, very important. And then I found that when I was playing like just some grooves and some beats, then I'd quite often like to play my stick further down my hand, or, answering your question, I would sometimes like to grip the stick between that finger and to keep this one loose. And that was because I had my balance was completely different. As soon as I gripped it there, the balance, I mean, you can't see that, but the stick is just falling forward. But as soon as I grip it there, I'm now holding on its balancing point, okay? So I've played around with that and I've changed it a lot. I think probably more with my left hand, because I ended up learning to play left-handed because I was in marching bands and I learned to play traditional grip, as I said. And as time went on and I needed more power, I would start, I'd maybe start playing traditional grip here. This is basically it's about a 5A drumstick. Really, really important point here as well. When you look at people playing the drums, you must find out what the length of their drumsticks are before you go, that's the way I need to hold my sticks. If you picked up a pair of Jojo Mayer sticks, they're a lot shorter than these, so obviously the balancing point's different. If you pick up a pair of Abel Boreal sticks, then they're much longer, so the balancing point's right. So at the moment, this is about, in fact, let me get, this is an SD4 combo, which is the same length as a 5A stick, okay? So traditional grip, the natural process would be, this is a Vic Firth stick, would probably be about the Vic Firth, okay? But when I wanted more power, and I wanted it to feel different, I would come right back. Okay, and then sometimes I would use this finger more than I'd use this finger. Okay, so this would be perfect for, but I'd like to come back on this one. Now, when I started teaching myself match grip, that was because I was in a youth orchestra at the age of 14, 15 years old, and I was playing timpani. Then anyone that wants to go really into the technique, they'll understand that timpani grip, the thumb is on top of the stick. Okay, because they don't play double stroke bowls, it's all single strokes and they need more dynamic. So that sort of become a hybrid of when I started to play the drums, when I played match grip on the kit. I'm talking about left hand now, or my weaker hand. And then I found, well, actually, I've got lots of power by, it's like the bit of paper on the end of a ruler trick. I've got lots of power with that, but as soon as I started shifting that and putting it in there, then I had all that movement. Same again, I quite liked playing the stick in here. So there's a long-winded answer to your question. To answer your question, I found that just by holding my sticks and playing around with my sticks, I found what works for me. And I'm still changing it. I'm constantly changing it. I'm constantly talking to people. And again, talking to great drummers. I mean, again, we've discussed this on here before, but Steve Smith is another one that you can go back, look at the chat with Steve Smith. Steve Smith worked really, really hard and practiced his match grip, and then he would practice his brushes, even to this day, and he'd be playing around with different ways, and this works for him, and this works for those. I think you've got to find what works for you. There is no shortcuts, by the way. I'm against all this BS of drummers out on Instagram, and sometimes very well-known, I'm going for it today, sometimes very well-known drummers who class themselves as educators, who say this is the way to play. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. There is not a way to play. There is too many people playing too many different ways. I've got a picture of Buddy Rich on my wall who looks like the Hunchback of Notre Dame and is holding his sticks halfway up the shaft of his. And I always think if he went to one of these drum teachers and no one knew who he was, they'd go, that's completely wrong. Seriously? It's Buddy Rich. Okay, Buddy Rich was probably one of the fastest drummers in the world. There's too many ways that drummers are playing. Thomas Lane plays completely different to Jojo Mayer or Benny Greb or any of them. There's too many ways that no one can actually go, this is the way to play, end of. Nonsense. Nonsense. So stick grip is how you feel. Without getting too heavy on it as well, everyone's hands are slightly different. Their muscles are different in their hands. Their forearms are different. There's too many different ways. And you are totally correct, Stubble Dan. Buddy had bad back troubles through. But absolutely correct. Buddy Rich had bad back trouble. He didn't have bad hand issues. Okay? A lot of drummers have bad back problems. A lot of drummers have different issues with maybe dropping their shoulder, etc., etc. So that's a different thing. I'm talking about a stick grip at the moment. So they're slightly different topics. I'm talking about a stick grip. When we see drummers and they say this is the way to play, like I said, we're all different. You've got to find what works for you. And I also feel, I mean, this is where Jojo Mayer did such a great job with his DVD, that if you study all these different ways, then you're going to find out what works for you. Again, you're correct. Stubble Dan 78 has come in and said posture is crucial. Posture is crucial because it's your job, and you're going to sit down at the drum kit and you're going to play. Okay, so none of this is about posture. I'm talking about stick grip, a particular way to hold your grip. Too many ways. Yes, you should learn about all the different techniques, the different grips, etc., etc., and then you find what works for you. Okay. And this is just my opinion, by the way. I'm not saying I'm the holy grail of, because I'm not. I've got a lot to learn. I'm still learning, but it's my opinion on that. Okay, let's see what else we've got in here. You're good tonight. So, okay, here we go, because this is that. It's gone to the small. Could you ask? Okay, hang on. Sorry, I'm trying to. I can't read some of these. Let's go back up the top here. Okay, so I don't know the end of that question actually. Stubble Dan, you said I'm 42 and have 2 children under 16, 15. I've been playing guitar for years and drums for around 10 years. We all know that's all I've got. I haven't got the last part of that question. Maybe you could just chuck that up here. We all know. That's as far as I got on that one. Okay, so there's a couple of questions there, or a couple of topics about. One was about flams. This is for the lesson today. One was about flams, and one was about Rosanna. This is quite interesting because when I first started teaching properly about 25, 30 years ago, Rosanna was always the question that people came along and talked about. And it's now it's out there. Anyone now can look at the transcription of Rosanna, okay, and see what he played. But it's not about the notes that he played. It's about, like, hang on, the pros spent hours practicing. How can we fit practice in around work? Oh, okay, sorry. So, Stubble Dan, the pros spent hours practicing. How can we fit practice in around work, family, commitment? You're right. Good question. Okay, Tosh the drummer's in the house. Hope you're well, Tosh. Okay, good. So yeah, most people can't. To be fair with you, 95% of the people that are playing the drums are hobbyists. Okay, and that's the facts of life. It's not how much practice you make; it's the quality of the practice that you make. I'm going to come back to Rosanna in a minute. It's the quality of the practice you make. You are totally correct. But to be fair, we're all the same. Even being a pro drummer. So I'm going to go back, and again, I've repeated this story a few times, but I'm going to go back to something that happened to me when I first came into London, and ties into the other question about being tough on myself. So when I first came into London, I lived with another great drummer in the UK, was doing a lot of great gigs at the time, and he would practice 8 hours a day. He would get up 10 o'clock in the morning on a full kit and practice. Can you imagine the neighbours? And I couldn't, because when I first come into London, I didn't have any gigs. I wasn't doing any gigs, so I had to do day jobs, various day jobs, and I just couldn't practice. And the other side of that was I could only practice for about an hour and a half to 2 hours before my concentration level went. So, and he could sit there for 8 hours, and it really did my head in, because I was like, wow, he's practicing for 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, and I'm practicing for an hour and a half, maybe 2, after a day's work or before I'd start work, etc., etc. He's going to be so much better than me at the end of each week. Coffee break. And it took me a while to realise there was a massive, and we've all heard this now, but there's a massive difference between practicing and playing the drums, or disciplined practice and undisciplined practice. Playing the drums is what we do when we go and rehearse with our band. And hopefully when we go and rehearse with our band, we're working through the muscle memories. We're working through things that we already know. We've already got those in place, okay? But practicing, you have to play stuff that you can't play. Now, it's a known fact that if you're at school, most people can focus and concentrate for 40 minutes. Okay, that's how long they can focus. If you follow football or any form of sports, it's the same. You'll see that then, especially with sports science now, they're pulling off people after whatever, 65, 70 minutes, because in the second half they start losing their focus, and they can see this on sports science, and they're pulling them off because they're going to make a mistake. It's the same in drum. It's the same that the human being, that's the way that we focus. So I learned that actually, if I can practice properly for an hour, and that means things I can't do, that's going to make so much difference than practicing for 7 hours and play the things I can't do for an hour, and then 7 hours of playing the drums. And so I would keep myself a diary. I would try not to get distracted, which again is something that you asked me about before, about telling that young Mike Dolbear. I would try not to get distracted, i.e. go, oh, I've just seen this video and this, I mean, we didn't have those, but I've just seen this video and I've just seen this new Vinnie Colaiuta lick, and so I've got to do that now. Oh, hang on a minute, I've just seen this double bass drum thing, I'm going to do that now. I would stay focused. So a great example would be the great book, because this was sort of what I was working on when I came into London, The New Breed by Gary Chester. And I would give myself a diary, I would put dates down in the book, and I would work on 2 pages. And I would just work on that until I could do it, okay? And then I'd move on. And I found that I was making more progress from disciplined practice. Even when I did have the time, I could not sit down. I'm not that guy. I can't sit down and practice for 8 or 9 hours. And if you speak to those drummers, if you speak to Steve Smith about playing the drums, he'll tell you that he's not actually practicing things he can't do. He's playing the drums, okay? He could do this stuff. If you took, for example, off the top of my head, if you took Tommy Igoe's Lifetime of Hands, okay, and you practice that, just 20 minutes a day. Imagine how, or 20 minutes 4 times a week. Imagine how good your hands are going to be by the end of that week. Okay, so I would say preparation, make a diary, however you want to do it, whether you want to put it on your phone or an old-fashioned book. I still do this to this day. Make a diary of things that are important to you. So what's important for you? Let me just ask you, if you're still in there, Dan, are you playing in a band, or was you playing in a band, for example? So maybe you can come back and you can say yes or no. But if you're playing in a band, what's important? What do the band want for you? They want you to keep time straight away. That's the first one. They want you to keep time. So that has to be part of your practice all the time. What they don't want, maybe unless you're, maybe they don't want you to play powder at 300 beats per minute. Yes, okay, great. What kind of band is it? So Dan's come back and he said yes, he plays in a band. So what kind of band is it, Dan? Is it a covers band? Is it, do you play in pubs? And what kind of music is it? So work on stuff that works for you, i.e. timekeeping has to be the main one. Practice your timekeeping all the time. Even if you can only do that 5-10 minutes. Do you need to be behind a drum kit for that? No. You can put a click on. I mean, I've got a click here. You can put a click on and just get used to that. Or put a click on and go, right, okay, I'm going to take this down to 70. That's practice. Covers band, mixed rock, reggae. Is there any... Right, okay, so Dan's come back and he said covers band, mixed rock, reggae, etc. Pub gigs mostly. Okay, the reason I'm reading this out is for YouTube that don't get the chance to see this, and also when this goes up live afterwards. Okay, is there anything in the band, Dan, that you can't play? Any songs that you can't play in that band? Or now would you say that you've got 95% of that in place? Because probably the chances are, before obviously lockdown, we're dealing with a different scenario at the moment, but before lockdown, probably you've got 95% of that in place. So you need to practice what's important for you as a drummer. You don't need any drum solos, okay? So if you don't need drum solos, then don't practice drum solos. You probably don't need to practice trying to get power drills up to 300 beats per minute. Now, I'm only saying this, by the way. I'm not saying that stuff's not important. I'm saying this if you're limited practice time. Okay? There you go. So there may be a new song that comes along and you're like, right, actually I need to get my head around this. We're doing a bit of reggae, or we're doing a police number. And you may find, oh, there's a little lick in that police number that I haven't quite practice that, okay? Now, yeah, there you go. So, and while you're on that subject, Dan, I would suggest to everybody out there at the moment that is about to start hopefully getting back to gigs, etc., etc., that you start putting a set list together, and you start putting a playlist together on your iPhone, and you start practicing the band's set. Be ready, because your job is still the same. Don't go out there now like an unleashed lion and go on to everybody and start. So put a song sheet together, put a playlist together, and start practicing that playlist at home once a week. Get used to playing again. Great. So start getting used to playing for 90 minutes or however long the set list is. Get used to it. I mean, all my pro drummers that I teach before we go out on tour, that's exactly what I do to them. And so we need to start thinking about that. So to go back to your question, and like I said, this is for people that haven't got much time to practice. Okay, I'm not saying that other stuff, if you've got all the time in the day and you can practice lots and lots, that's a completely different scenario. This is for a lot of people that only have a limited amount of time. So practice what's important for you. If timing's important for you, which I think it would be, if your sound is important, if there's a song in that set that you can't play because it's too fast, practice that song and try and get it faster than what you need to so you can come back on it, etc., etc. So practice what's important to you and keep a diary. Diaries really, really help. I hope that helps you. Okay, so okay, I want to talk about Rosanna because it's something that a few of you have mentioned. And like I said before, so I got my little practice kit here because it's a lot easier on people's ears and it doesn't distort, etc., etc., than using the whole kit. But most of the time now, we know what we can see the transcription of Rosanna. We can see how the groove goes. We can go back and we can check out Bernard Purdie shuffle and all that kind of stuff. There's transcriptions everywhere. You just need to Google it. But the thing about those parts are, it really wasn't about the transcription and whether he's playing a little note in between the triplets or whether he's doing this or that. It was about the feel. And I think this is where sometimes we all go wrong. So I'm going to give you a little tip. I'm going to give you a little lesson. And again, this is only my views. Okay. So I'm going to put my phone. I'm going to put my Instagram. I can't see you now, on so you can see the practice gear. Okay. So let's. Okay, so let's think of the Rosanna groove as okay, so there's little notes. Okay, we've all seen those. But here's a tip for you. Any of that shuffle, think about it differently. Why do we suddenly, as drummers, think differently to the rest of the musicians in the band? There's no reasoning for it. The rest of the band aren't hearing a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and or triple do. They're feeling it as a groove. So think about a 3-2 clave. Or the Bo Diddley groove. So don't think of it as 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 and 1, 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a 1 E and. Don't think of it like that. Think of this. 3-2 clave. 2, 3, 1, 7. Okay, so just think of it differently. Listen, 1, well, I've got to do it wrong now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, listen to this. Sa, su, ah, do, ah, boo, boo, ah, ah, boo, boo, ah. So, instead of it, like I said, you can find the transcription, you can find out if there's a little note here or a little note there, but think about it in a different way. Think about stuff as a musician, as not a drummer. Now, I know that sounds strange, but what I mean by that is don't think of it as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, or triplet, 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 triplet. Think of it as a ba, ba-doom, boom, ga, boom, ba, boom, boom, ga. Same as if you're playing this. Don't think of this 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Think of it like this. Okay, so mentally think of it in a different way. Okay, right. I think we're done. I don't know if we've got any more questions for the night, but I have to say, Stubble Dan, you win the sticks today. You've got to win the sticks. You've kept me entertained. You've answered some great questions. So this is the pair of Meinl Luke Holland new signature sticks. DM me your address and I will send them to you. So there's only one Instagram live this week, and that is on Wednesday, and it's with somebody that I've done. Oops, sorry, the drum stall's collapsed on me. It's with someone I've done a live Instagram with before, but wasn't saved. So for those that are new to this tonight, there's about, I don't know, probably about 90 live Instagram chats in my profile now. You can just scroll through and look at. But I've done about 130, 140. So this is someone that I've had on here before. He's someone that is always controversial. I think he's wound up, ready for some excitement this week. I think I love this guy. What he's done during this lockdown, hopefully, is certainly equal to what I've been trying to do. But he's been doing his sticking lessons, and that's Tommy Igoe. So Tommy Igoe is going to be my guest on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. So that is the 13th of May, 7 o'clock. Tommy Igoe on here is going to be my guest. I'm excited and I'm looking forward to it. It's always fun when Tommy's on, and anyone that follows Tommy knows that he doesn't put up with any BS. Okay, he's very strict, got strong views on things. So I know he's ready to give us some nuggets of gold. So anyway, join me on Wednesday night. This is it now. Thank you very much for this show over on Great Hands for a Lifetime. That's right, Dan. So over on YouTube and Instagram, if you're watching this later, unfortunately the prize is gone. Dan, DM me your email address and I will get this pair of Luke Holland Meinl sticks over to you. Share this around, tell people what I'm trying to do here, and I will see you on Wednesday night. Stay safe, look after yourself. We're getting closer if you're from the UK. We're getting closer. I can hear bands playing in pubs in the next couple of weeks. It's getting good. So stay safe, look after yourself, be kind to yourself, check in with your mates, make sure your friends are okay. Doesn't cost anything for a little text, a little message, just to see how people are doing. And I'll catch up with you on Wednesday. Bye.